Skywatcher, is this series the next step to eventual disclosure? Is this the way that they actually get it done, as opposed to the government with the paper trails and the back and forth of never really getting anything done in Congress and trying to? This is a thing that has always been said. Will it take an outside group to just release stuff, to get things out there, to prove the claims that have been made by various military sources? Well, that's what this Skywatcher series seems to be trying to do. Over the last 24 hours, various clips from this part one of this series has been floating around there. Alex Klukas, who is you've seen him as the moderator on the SALT conferences with Gary Nolan and Carl Nell. He's running this. And the first question he asks Jake Barber, who we've seen from the Ross Coulthart interview, who has now been out there. You keep hearing his name more and more and more. It seems to be like one of the first-hand witnesses that's come out as public as he has, talking about recovery programs that he was a part of. And Alex actually talks to quite a few people in this, and they even do an experiment with UAP in the sky. So some of the things that they do, and it's funny because I had no intent of this, but I did a video this morning about consciousness and how it's connected to UAP stuff. Seems to be a heavy basis inside of this video series about how it is indeed consciousness and people who learned how to do it that can essentially summon these. And there have been various people who have made those claims. Chris Bledsoe is one of those people who has made those claims. And this was very interesting to me because every question that Alex asks, and he asked it at SALT with Carl Nell, he asked it with Gary Nolan, and he asked not only do you believe that NHI is here, to which every person he asks inside of this says yes. He then follows it up with, how certain are you? Which everyone in this, well, most of them said 100%. And there was one person who just said, I'm very certain. And I know it to be true. It's a fascinating video piece. It's a very different piece because of what he says the intent is and who he has to talk about these things. It's not just and he says it in the beginning, he talks about Carl Nell, and he talks about Nolan. He says it's respected as the both of these guys are. They're guys who haven't actually seen it. They just believe it to be true. Well, I'm going to talk to the people who have seen it, believe it to be true, have worked in these programs. And our mission, as they are a well-funded program, they didn't say where the money comes from or all that stuff too. It's a well-funded program that is the intent to get the information out to people that has been hidden. So I got to play a couple of snippets. And the first is with Alex talking to Jake Barber. Take a look at this.
So, Jake, do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has been visiting this planet?
Well, yes, I do.
And when you make that claim, Jake, how confident are you that claim is true?
I'm 100% confident that that claim is true.
What about the craft made you so certain that it was non-human in origin?
Well, first of all, it was the reaction of our entire crew and our leadership structure. So it was atypical from how we would communicate and treat any other crash recovery. And then the object or technology itself was something that was inconceivable as being man-made from my perspective and the perspective of my teammates.
Okay, a metallic egg. And do you have any idea, like, how these craft were piloted or kind of controlled?
Well, it was obvious that this crash recovery effort was coordinated with another program that had to do with an interest in how consciousness had an impact or could interface with technology.
Yeah.
We were also invited to be part of a program that dealt with the research and development of the building of a system in which a particular human, not non-human, a particular human with a disposition and talent for manipulating their own consciousness could interface with certain technology. So there's a certain effort to reverse engineer these craft. That effort very quickly led to the idea that the power plant for these systems and the interface to manipulate that power plant wasn't done through mechanical interface of levers of phalanges in order to manipulate control systems. It was done through the mind.
It was done through the mind. Just the idea of that seems to be the theme of the day. You start to get into the science fiction side of this, right? Where you say telepathy and using your consciousness to control craft. It's unfathomable. You can't even think that this would be something not in a Star Trek or X-Men or something along those lines. And then you start to wonder if this type of stuff is true. And they mention this in this video piece of like what reality really is. Do we know what it really is? Have we even scratched the surface of what reality really is? If these types of things can be accomplished, and what kind of evolution is humankind in for if you can do these types of things? And is this the next step? So it doesn't stop there with Barber. Alex also interviews someone else who was actually part of that particular program, and what he says is pretty interesting. So take a look at this.
Jordan, I really appreciate you joining us here today.
Alex, it's an honor to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So maybe let's start by sharing a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So most recently, I worked in the space technology space, a little bit of data science, ultimately taking different imagery types and trying to solve solutions for the utility industry.
I'm curious, by chance, do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
I'm certain of that.
You're certain? How certain are you?
100%. Certainty comes from my firsthand experience in what I term a psionic exploitation program between the years of 2005 and 2010, where I interfaced and worked with non-human intelligence and things like UAP directly.
I mean, Jordan, that is an incredible claim. For the viewer at home, what were you doing in this program on a daily basis?
Yeah, so this would look at like things that many people would consider woo-woo-y, right? Like astral projection or meditation. But ultimately, what we were really investigating was how far could we stretch the bounds of human consciousness. Beyond that, how could we get human consciousness to interface directly with things like recovered materials and recovered crafts? What I can tell you from the craft and some of the different projects that we worked on directly is ultimately that they interfaced with us. What I mean by that is my consciousness could project into these craft and recovered materials and then access a suite of commands, essentially capabilities to do various things, including piloting. But ultimately, the story is not about piloting some UAP with your mind. This story is much more about what is consciousness.
All right, this is the kind of stuff that can make your head explode. Because let's say that everything that they're saying here is true. Everything that it can be confirmed that everything that they're talking about is absolutely 100% factual, that they can summon these things through consciousness, right? Because this is something that they do inside of this video piece is that Alex says, he goes, hey, listen, you can do this. Show me that you can do it. And they go out and it doesn't just like happen miraculously within like 30 seconds. It's like 3 days. They see things in the sky. Gary Nolan is there. And even at one point, he's like, look, there's certain things that they saw. I didn't necessarily see something, but what I did see is when I was coming back in there to talk to the guy on the roof, I saw something outside that could be, who knows? They all try to figure out kind of the lights itself and trying to figure out exactly what it was. But at the same time, what they do show is that I think this was in August. And I remember that there was a massive sighting that was going on around that time. And so they insinuate, they say, look, with what we did here is it possible that what we did triggered that particular event? Was it coincidental that all of these different people were seeing these things at the same time that we tried to do this? And it just brings in that conversation of what if that is the case over the 70, 80 years of learning how to use these things, reverse engineering, whatever it is, that is what is causing particular sightings. And what if indeed the government does know about this stuff and does have these answers in general, right? That's a question. The question that also is interesting is how much more is consciousness going to keep popping up there? Like I said, I didn't even have an absolute, I didn't have an idea that I was going to talk about this at all. I wound up doing 2 videos about it today. And it seems to be kind of creeping its way in there in the way that originally was what's in the sky? What's in the ocean? Why is that not making sound? What's that? Who knew about that? What's this? Now, whether it's Barber, Chris Bledsoe, other people have talked about these things in general, right? That this summoning notion of within consciousness is not a new thing. The thing that also stands out to me is if you guys watch this channel regularly, you know that I have attacked Peter on this, and we both talk about this. We talk about how government has, certain factions within government has been trying for disclosure, or whatever that word means at this point, but has been trying to get the word out and has been trying to get to the bottom of this topic. And I always said that it was good that people within that, with those types of resources, are fighting for it, to which Peter was always like, yeah, well, it's also going to be this thing where it's going to come from outside sources. It's going to come from somewhere else releasing information, people talking to someone else, because it doesn't seem like, A, they really can trust the government in general, especially the DOD, which is supposed to protect these people. You look at the stuff even yesterday with the drones, and what was announced is like, oh yeah, well, it was the FAA, and they were just doing experiments. Crappy explanation. No one buys it. So it's an outside organization like this that even Alex says at the end of it how they're funded. It's that type of thing that might actually do something with the right people talking and the right things shown. But it's got to be one of these things where it just blows people away. But Barber seems to be making more of a push now. He seems to be really heavily involved in this. So I don't know. What say you guys? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know what you think about this so far. I'm not going to show any more of the video, obviously, because I have because I put the link for the full video. You should watch the whole thing. I just wanted to show a couple clips about what I was talking about here. But you can go in the link, go check it out, come back and let me know what your thoughts are. And will you be watching this? Did you watch it? Are you going to watch part 2? Is it like, yeah, I've seen enough of these. It's just a well-made piece of video. It's not going to do anything. Or the opposite. Is this actually, no, this is one that is going to really move things forward, because they have people talking now who can discuss it because they've seen it. They've talked it. They've touched it. And it's also a matter of the level of people they have talking. So what say you? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. You're brand new to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. And we'll see you here tomorrow. Bye.